on what position you play, and that's the degree of which you have CTE. So if you're a center or a linebacker, you're going to have it worse than people who are a place kicker. But that is a normal situation in the football league, in combat. So don't let anybody, and I told Hacksaw that. I said, Junior has CTE, and he said, well, you can't say that, they didn't do the autopsy. A year later, Hacksaw asked me back on the show, well, you're right, he has CTE. I said, Hacksaw, they all do. And now Boston University, Boston's brain bank, they did autopsies on 100 NFL players' brains, and they came up at 99% with CTE. I mean, that's 100%.
Yep.
They probably blew the one that they couldn't find it. But, so, now, what was Junior on? Junior was on medications that side effects was suicide.
Yeah. And we've seen that. We've seen that a lot. Sorry, go ahead.
When I came out of this, I had depression. So they told me that my serotonin was low. So for the last year, I've taken 8 different SSRIs. And within 4 days of taking each one of those, I went suicidal with each one of those. And not actually where I was thinking it, but it was that subconscious thought of just like, okay, we can't live like this, we need to move on. And it was a thing where I would just literally have to call my family and take me back to the ER to go to the emergency room. And every time I'm telling him I have these side effects, this SSRI, you keep telling me that it's low serotonin, and it's not helping me. It's creating the opposite effect. And I mean, you can't believe I've been to 3 psychiatrists there, and all of them just want to keep feeding me the same thing when I'm telling them that's what's going on. So that's where some of the hopelessness starts to come in, because you're having these dreams and you just hadn't quite sure which turn.
Well, that all you have to do, any of those medications they're giving you, Google them, put down black box side effects, and you'll see all of those problems.
So how do we combat this? I mean, we've seen this too, Dr. Bart Billings, as you spoke about the NFL. I worked closely with the NFL alumni and some people there that had suffered from CTE, and we'd seen it with obviously Junior Seau. And so now let's put this case scenario. We've put them on these psychiatric drugs, so changing and altering their states. And then all of a sudden these guys go off of these drugs. How do we help them and manage that? And especially asking from a family standpoint, because there's wives out there, there's children out there that are trying to help and deal with their family at this time. And where do we come, or do they come into play to help these people as well, to support them, to get them back to this safe place of mental health?
Okay, first off, you have to find a good detoxification program to detox off these medications. Okay. It has to be medically monitored. You're going to be getting different kind of supplements while you're going through it. You're going to be, I know a flight surgeon who sets these things up, these detox centers, Air Force flight surgeon, and you get all kind of niacin, and you get into steam baths and saunas, and you just kind of bleed the stuff out, bleed all these chemicals out of your system. But it takes weeks to go through this. But on the other end, while you're going through this, there needs to be integrative treatment. There needs to be counseling. There needs to be peer group. There needs to be vocational counseling. There needs to be yoga, guided imagery. Whatever you need, if you need nutrition, nutritional counseling, involved with other people. But the critical thing is a formal detox program. In my book, I talk about an airman who came out of the Air Force, and there was nothing wrong with him. He didn't have any psychiatric problems, but he went to the VA, and he was told that he had post-traumatic stress disorder because he had some GI problems. He just had GI problems because he had vibroacoustic syndrome, which results if you're in a high-intensity, low-frequency vibratory environment for significant periods of time. You get GI problems, cardiovascular thickening, lesions. He had a lesion, and he had some GI problems. Got misdiagnosed. They put him on so many different meds over a 15-year period. 8 of those years he was in a wheelchair. Wow. He couldn't even walk because of the meds, and nobody did anything about it. Finally, somebody said to him, "You got to get off these meds." And he went to a private in Arizona detox program, went in a wheelchair. 19 days later, he walked out. He had a little Parkinsonian tremor when I evaluated him in his right arm, and that went away too. But he got back to living. He got back to, being involved with the community, being involved in a wellness program, being involved with other people. But it's very hard to make sense out of life if your brain is messed up with brain-altering psychiatric meds.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And I have a question on behalf of Dino, and Dino doesn't know that I'm going to ask this, but just thinking, been a friend of Dino's for a very long time, and he's very close to my heart, and I consider him family. So what happened, how do we help somebody in this high-profile stress position where, he's not been diagnosed with anything, he has, no signs of post-traumatic stress. Clearly, he's been in post-traumatic stress situations. So what happens to someone like this, and how can we, assist him in the future so when he does retire, we can help this so that it doesn't happen to him? Does that make sense?
Well, again, it has to happen constantly, every day. You have to be involved with family. You have to be involved with other activities, whether it's church, whether it's a wellness center where you go. Like I go to a wellness center every morning. We have the gym rats there. There's 30 of us. We talk to each other. We socialize together. We take care of each other. That's a very supportive environment. Socializing, being in a social environment away from your work is important, where you're talking about other things and doing other things. I did things like I used to shoot competitive archery. The people that competed with me, they were different every aspect of life you can imagine, but it was a way of totally. I mean, when you're shooting competitive archery, your mind is nowhere except where the target is. You can't think about other things. They've done research with comedies. You watch funny movies. Don't watch cop movies. Go watch something where you're laughing. Because, again, that's reciprocal inhibition. But they've seen that people actually improve their mental health through comedies. Be involved with as many different activities, whether you ride horses or you have a dog and you walk your dog, you belong to a cooking club, all the various integrated things. And there's dozens of them, and you need to be doing that now. I work with police officers, and, the worst thing that happens, it's hard for a police officer. You almost have to have a split personality. When you're doing the job, I remember one police officer I was working with, he was having all kind of marital problems, a lot of marital problems with police officers. And firemen, but mostly police officers, more so. And he would come home, and he would be writing his wife and kids tickets. I mean, like, wait a minute, you leave that at the door, And so in therapy, I was working with him how to be more humane, how to be a father, how to be a husband, all the different kinds of things you can do. Leave your work where, when you leave the building, leave your work there. And he got to be really good at being a father and caring and compassionate. And then he comes in one time and he says, well, I picked up this hooker and I felt sorry for her. And I said, wait a minute, that's not your wife. You can't do that. You can't slip into the role that you are as a father and a husband with people that you're working with that can get you killed. So it's really hard.
Doc, I'm not a professional by any means, just through my experience, but it's funny, I hear you talk, and it's a lot of the same stuff that I've told some of the young people. One of the things I tell them all the time is when you get off work and you hang your uniform up, you leave your work in the locker.
Right.
You don't take it home with you. Find something happy, find something else to get rid of it. And I heard you say something else, and it is kind of like a split personality when you really think about it, and again, I'm not a professional by any means, but we talk to other police officers, we talk to other people in our world, right, our work world, and you vent a different way as you do with at home. It's a two system way of dealing with it, if that makes any kind of sense to you. But I kind of heard you talk about that, and it's amazing how it happens naturally as you become wiser and you don't let it take you over. You know, if you could somehow fight through it, and it's something that you can actually come up with that you do naturally. You know, if you have an open mind and you analyze yourself. Another thing that you said, I was thinking back to your traumatic brain injuries. I know that they are now doing studies from the bomb squad environment. We're cumulative bomb detonations, whether they're, you know, whether we wanted them to happen or not. They're doing big cumulative studies on the impact to the brain from even the smallest of detonations, but just happening over and over and over again. And
that's called, I just so happen to be an expert on this. I'm a national expert on vibroacoustic disease.
Okay.
You know, vibroacoustic syndrome. It was discovered in Portugal by Dr. Branco, and the airplane repair factories, because Portugal's kind of like Mexico, they send everything there to get it fixed because it's cheaper. Well, a lot of guys in these factories were experiencing all kind of problems, like physical, mental, anger, hostility, because they were in a constant high-intensity, low-frequency vibratory environment. And that can cause all kind of problems. People don't realize it. Like I said, it can cause pericardium thickening. It can cause vascular lesions, GI problems, anger, hostility. I had one case I did an expert witness work on. The guy had 21 breakdowns, body breakdowns. He worked 8 hours a day in front of this machine that put that kind of vibration out. World War I, you know what they called it? They got it right in World War I. They called it shell shock. 8 hours a day in front. They got it right. They knew there was something wrong with them. Right. That was vibroacoustic disease because World War I was an artillery war, and all day long they're rattling and they're in their trenches, and that causes anytime you feel sound. I wrote an article for the Navy Medical Journal in 2002 called "The Sound You Feel Can Be Hazardous to Your Health." It can cause brain damage in unborn children. If a woman who's pregnant goes to a rock concert and they're vibrating with the sound. I mean, anytime you feel sound, every cell in your body is being damaged. If you only experience it occasionally, those cells repair themselves. Brain cells repair themselves slower, but they repair themselves. But if the gestation for a child, the brain is developing, I had a psychologist, a woman who said, she read my article in the Navy Medical Journal, and she said, you answered a question that I've been struggling with for 25 years, why my son was born with Down syndrome. I didn't smoke, I didn't drink, I took care of myself. There was only one time that I got sick and nauseous and threw up, and it was at a rock concert when the sound was so loud, it made me sick, and I traced it back, that's when the brain was being developed.
Wow. Wow.
Yes, those guys who are getting in the bomb squad, they need to know about vibroacoustic disease and be aware of some of the problems that can result from that constant, you know, you fired a 50 caliber machine gun. You know how that vibrates? I mean, that shakes your whole body. Yeah. So the battlefield environment is a vibratory environment where you're being hit with all kind of high-intensity, low-frequency vibration. During World War II, the Nazis developed that as a weapon, and they were able to kill people with it, but they couldn't control it, and it was too big. The Russians have that weapon. They took those scientists. I worked with DARPA on a countermeasure of that weapon. I think that's what's going down in Cuba.
Oh, with the embassy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the Cubans got that weapon from Russia, and you know, this isn't pie in the sky. I'm not a flake. you know, but I know about high-intensity, low-frequency vibration. It sounds like that's what's going on with those people in the embassy.
Yeah, right.
Wow. Well, I have another question too. In your opinion, Dr. Bart, how do you think we can combat misdiagnosis with the VA and also other doctors and healthcare professionals so that we can help diagnose and administer the right treatments for any patient, pretty much?
Well, what you got to do is you got to stand up for yourself and be responsible for your own health. You've got to stand up. You got to say to the people at the VA, look, I want to detox off of these meds if you're on meds, and I want to get involved with an integrative treatment program. If you don't have one, I will go find one in the community, and you have a right to do that.
Okay.
You have a right. If they don't have it, you have a right to find it. Now, the VA is starting to come around a little bit. They're doing some yoga classes. They're doing some other things.
Good.
You say, I want a total 100% integrated treatment program without any brain-altering medications. If you don't know how to do that, I will find somebody that does. And believe me, there are people out there. But again, you go in, you get my book, Invisible Scars. You sit down with your doctor and say, this is what I want. And if you haven't read this book, Doc, read it so you know what I want. Because you know something? I know more about this problem after reading this book than you do.
Very good. I love that. And I would like to also go back into the normal civilian world now, and just for a moment for everybody who's listening out there, because we know that there's, you know, everybody out there that's being misdiagnosed with anxiety, depression, all these different things, mood disorders, anxiety, whatever it may be. How do we help them to, you know, get a second opinion, or not just, you know, jump for that prescription and go, okay, you know, I have bipolar. Okay, great. This is going to fix it. And not even looking at the side effects of what it's going to do to alter and change your state. And then the other problem is also people going off of medications cold turkey without being assisted by a physician, which I've seen a lot of, and I've actually lost 3 friends due to it, coming off of drugs, 3 different prescriptions, 3 different people from being diagnosed as bipolar, which they were not, and they actually killed themselves because of it. And, you know, I would like to be able to speak up and stop this, because we're losing good people, and it's got to stop.
Well, like I said before, if anybody is on psychiatric medications, and I don't feel any of them work, I really don't. I think they're more destructive than anything, but if you want to know why, psychiatry and the pharmaceutical industry generates $1/3 of $1 trillion a year peddling these psychiatric meds.
Yep.
And in the medical schools, they don't know how to do therapy. They don't train them to do therapy anymore. It's just drug. And that's where you make your money. Now, one of the best things any community needs to know about mental health, there's a book. It's called the DSM, and it has all of the psychiatric labels: bipolar, ADD, ADHD, et cetera, What people have to know, there is not one psychiatric label that has any science that distinguishes it from people who are normal. There is no brain scans, there is no blood work, there is no urine analysis, there is nothing that validates any of those diagnoses. There's no science in any of them. The only way those labels get put in this book that psychiatry uses and the insurance company uses, every so many years, a group of psychiatrists, psychologists, mental health people get together in a room, and they decide what they're going to call people. And the pharmaceutical companies are sitting there saying, come up with more labels, and we'll come up with more drugs. And that's the truth. And if people need to know that. There's no science. Now, I get a kick when they say, if you're depressed, come and see us, and we'll do blood work, and we'll show. Well, you know something? If somebody's sitting around all day long watching TV, eating bad food, and everything else, their blood chemistry is going to be that of somebody who looks like they're depressed.
Yes.
You take that same person, you put them in a ballet class, you have them run every morning, within 2 or 3 months, oh, guess what? Their blood chemistry is an athlete. So it's not that they had the blood chemistry of a depressed person first. They chose behaviors that led to their blood chemistry being the way it is.
Yeah.
But you know, I get the biggest kick out of ADD, ADHD. These are, again, fake diagnoses. And they say, oh, we have proof that ADD really does exist because we did brain scans and their brains are smaller than the general population. Well, yeah, that's what happens when you give people amphetamines and Ritalin. They rely on Ritalin, that shrinks their brain. Don't give me this nonsense.
Yeah.
Wow. Dr. Bart Billings, and it's just such an absolute honor to have you on the show today. And please, we've got about 30 seconds left. I'd like to also thank Joe, Navy SEAL, ex-Navy SEAL. Thank you for coming on today, being candid about your story. I hope that helps, you know, with some of the things that are going on for you. And I definitely, a Christmas gift to you is I'm actually going to pick up the book, Invisible Scars, for you and have it delivered. So Merry Christmas early.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And also my friend and amazing officer, Bomb Squad Commander, Dino Zografos. Did I say that good enough?
Yeah, you're good.
Hey, I'm working on it.
That's good.
I adore you, and I'm also giving you a copy of Invisible Scars as well, so that'll be on your doorstep for Christmas.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming on. Where do we find your book, Dr. Bart Billings, and where do we find all of you amazing men on social media, excluding Joe?
Well, the book can be found at www.bartbillings.com. Just Google that. That's the book website. There's a lot of great information on the book website. And then click on Buy Book. It takes you right to Amazon. You'll have the book in a day or two. And to both gentlemen, to Dino and Joe, when you get that book, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to call me or get in touch with me. And if you want to get in touch with the Marines, what they're doing, I'll be happy to make that happen for you as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all your efforts in putting this all together and all your research. It really is going to make an impact on people, and that's really important.
Yes, thank you for saving lives and sharing your wisdom and your knowledge, and also serving the country as well, Dr. Billings. And also thank you so much to Joe. Thank you to Dino. I'd like to thank my sponsors. We're going to be enjoying and devouring Quest Nutrition Bars, birthday cake, and Buzz Pop cocktails. We're going to be enjoying those in the back as well. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on the TLC Unleashed Show, Hollywood Vibes, Sports and Life. We're here every Wednesday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can find me on social media, Facebook, Traci Lynn Cowan, Traci Lynn Cowan Health and Wellness Expert, also Hollywood Vibes, Sports and Life, TLC Unleashed, and www.tlcunleashed.com. And if you want to order your Buzz Pops to get those at your next party, www.buzzpopcocktails.com. Almost had me there. Until next time.
Out. Okay. We off? Yep.
Nice.
No open mics.
No open mics.
Are these hot? Are these live? I want to take a picture of that. I like that screen. Are you still there?